Welcome to CSI Iowa. I'm your host, Bob Monserrat. Matt Monserrat is in the production booth. Tonight, my guest is Jerry Brown. Jerry Brown is the NamUs Regional System Administrator. And tonight we're going to talk about what that is. You know, what is NamUs? And Jerry's here to explain that. But Jerry, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bob. Glad to be here.
Yeah. I just want the audience to know a little bit about you. And I know you're an Iowan, right?
Born and raised, except for some excursions into other places.
And you can get into that. Let's find out what college you went to.
Iowa State University. That's where I got my undergraduate degree. I did do some graduate work at the University of Iowa and got my master's degree from Drake University.
And then after school, you decided to go overseas, correct?
Well, there was an interlude after I graduated from Iowa State that I did teach. I taught biology, anatomy, physiology, life science at Nevada High School. And fortunately, I entered a lottery in the 60s, which a lot of young men did. And I was a winner of that lottery and won a all-expense 2-year paid travel, vacation, clothing, food, an allowance also, and got to travel to exotic places like Vietnam. So I spent about 13 months there, came back, and went back into teaching.
Okay. What was your number, by the way, in the lottery?
I was 56.
56, and
56,
they still got to you.
My brother was 354, and he knew that there was no way women and children would be going before him.
Mine was 287.
Very
so
good.
I did get into the lottery too, and you call it as winning. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, it's the only lottery I've ever won, so I got to look at it positively.
So you survived Vietnam, and then you came back and taught again.
I did. I taught for another 2.5 years. But while I was in Vietnam, I had a lot of thinking time, a lot of downtime to think about other things. And I thought about getting into law enforcement. And I knew that at that time, like the FBI, they wanted people who had law degrees. They wanted attorneys. And also looked at the Secret Service. And they pretty much wanted people who had 20/20 vision. And I wore glasses. So when I came home and when I started teaching again, I actually applied to the DCI, or then it was the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, BCI, and got an interview. I actually went and interviewed with the assistant director and went through the whole process and filled out the applications and all of that, and then was pretty much along the way of becoming an agent with the Bureau, when in fact I got my eyes checked and they said, your eyes are not good enough to be an agent, but you do have a science background. We're kind of getting the DCI crime laboratory going, and we do have a position, and would you like to go down? Or they were going to send my application down for consideration. And I was going to school at the University of Iowa in the summer, and they called me up and asked if I would come into the lab and do an interview. I said I would be glad to, and they said I'd be interviewing for the job of a question document examiner. And this was back in 1972 and 73, someplace in there. And so I went to the library because we didn't have the internet at that time. I went to the library, and actually crime labs were fairly new at that time also. I could not find a thing out about question document examiner. But I went down for the interview anyway. And it was interesting because we went through the whole interview process and we got all done, and the assistant director of the DCI and the laboratory administrator, Mike Rayberg, was there. And they asked me if I wanted to be a question document examiner, if they offered me the job. And I said, I would love to be a question document examiner. What is it? So I know that today that's not the way you go into an interview, but evidently things were going in the right direction, and I started working there in January of 1975 and worked there until 2000 December 2005.
So did you receive on-the-job training when you were here then at the DCI lab?
Yes. Special Agent Dwayne Barton was the document examiner at the time, and he took me under his wing. Very colorful individual, one of the old-time law enforcement individuals in Iowa, and he had a lot of interesting stories. So he entertained me and trained me, and we had I thought, a very good relationship.
Mm-hmm. And then you did that for quite a long time, and then you became a supervisor.
1984, the laboratory created, I believe, four supervisor positions, and I was fortunate enough to get one of those, and I supervised latent prints, question documents, photo, and eventually we had the computer crime unit also in there.
And then from there you became laboratory administrator.
Well, you know, if you live long enough, you outlive the rest of the folks, you can eventually rise to the top. And yes, I was in, I think it was about March of 2000, I was appointed the DCI laboratory laboratory administrator. And that was a really interesting time for us because we were in the process of building a new building at that time. And so I got to take on that task and joined the rest of the laboratory in developing a state-of-the-art lab, and that was a really exciting time for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And then after you had all that excitement and all that fun, you decided to move on, and now, I know there were things in between, but now you're called a NamUs. Am I saying that right? NamUs?
NamUs. All one word.
All one word.
All one word.
Okay. Regional System Administrator, and I don't know, when I separate it like I did, it sounds like I'm saying name us,
mm-hmm.
which I think kind of, explains what that is.
It really does. It takes, and the name really pulls together both sides of what we have in NamUs, which is the missing persons database and the unidentified persons database. So NamUs is a very appropriate name for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or the people that are unidentified.
That's true.
It's like, please name us.
That's right.
Yeah. I just came up with that.
You're good, Bob.
Yeah, thank you. So, and I don't know. Sometimes, when you retire, I'm sure you weren't looking for this. It just came to you. Am I correct on that?
Well, as you said, I did a lot of things in between 2005 and 2008 when I first started with another organization that had NamUs. But it was one of those things where doing the networking, somebody called somebody and said I was looking for a position, and eventually we got together and did an interview down in Florida and was offered a position as a regional systems administrator with them. And that was actually NFSTC, the National Forensic Technology company down in Florida, Largo, Florida. And that's where that's the group that really launched NamUs down there through an NIJ grant, which is the National Institute of Justice. And they started the programming, they started putting the program together, and the reach out to all of the clients, if you will, such as the law enforcement, coroners, and medical examiners, as well as the public. And then that whole process migrated over to the University of Texas, who has NamUs now. So I'm actually a Texas employee. And
you don't have to live in the state.
Don't have to. Thanks to the phones and the internet, I can work from my own house.
And obviously there was an outcry and a need because there must be a large number of people that are missing or unidentified.
Yeah, and that's really what started the whole push towards this. And we'll show a video of what we're talking about here, but there was never a centralized deposit, if you would, to where all of these individuals, both missing persons and unidentified deceased, could be searched for. There were a lot of individual pockets out there, and most of them were, voluntary organizations, non-government. And so they did get together in about the year 2005. They brought a lot of people together, and we'll look at that as we go through some of this information that I have for you. But we might want to play the video now of this, how this whole thing got started as far as from the people side.
Okay. Matt, can you get that video up and going?
Missing persons. Unidentified human remains. Two criminal justice problems that have existed in our country for many years. Some even refer to the number of unidentified decedents as the nation's silent mass disaster. In 2005, the National Institute of Justice, the research, development, and evaluation arm of the U.S. Department of Justice, held a national strategy summit to tackle this problem. The Institute brought together law enforcement officials, medical examiners and coroners, forensic scientists, policymakers, and victim advocates and families around the country. Out of that summit came a charge to the Department of Justice to identify every available tool and create others to solve missing persons and unidentified human remains cases. NamUs, the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, was created. NamUs is the first national online repository for missing persons records and unidentified decedent cases. The first nationwide system accessible through the internet by the general public to match cases of missing people with records from the nation's coroner and medical examiner offices to help solve these heartbreaking cases.
Carrie was, she was 22 at the time of her disappearance. She was very athletic, very well liked. She was just a joy to be around. People enjoyed being around her. She had a lot of friends. She, you know, of course I'm a mother, so she was beautiful. At the time of Carrie's disappearance, there wasn't a lot of resources available. And of course, not being involved in anything like that, I didn't know what to do. Law enforcement didn't know what to do. And of course, with Carrie being an adult, it wasn't taken as seriously as what a child missing person would be.
Solving the case is totally dependent on identifying the victim. And that's the problem, is we can't get all of them identified by conventional means.
On the acute cases that have just happened, that have just come into the office, there's the issue of whether or not you can get information into the NCIC system and whether you have access to it and whether you can take advantage of all the tools that are potentially out there.
The concept of NamUs and the ability to bring the different disciplines together to share information is extremely important. The real component that makes it so successful, in my opinion, is the ability to have families have search capability.
Amico is delighted that NamUs is being developed and has been involved for about a year now in learning more about it and being excited about telling more families that this project is being developed. As I shared, there are families all over the country who have been searching for a long time for a missing loved one. And to have a resource that not only is available to help in the search for their loved one, but a resource that they can use.
Well, when you have someone missing, of course you are up all hours of the night not knowing what to do. I'll get on a website and I will search the missing persons website for any information that I can find that could be helpful, because there's nobody that wants to find your child or your loved one more than you do.
Yeah, the search capability is really pretty nifty, because there's a number of categories that you can check to say, okay, I want to do a search on race, I want to also look at dental records, and I also want to look at tattoos, for example. So you check those 3 boxes, then you get another screen where you fill in the information. So I could plug in that I want to look at males that have a crown on tooth number 13, that also have a tattoo, and I can type in the word in the tattoo box of eagle. So it will search for a male that has a crown on tooth number 13 and has a tattoo of an eagle. that would narrow cases down, for example, to maybe 3 or 4 possibilities as compared to 100 if I didn't plug in the tattoo information.
So in effect, we have a central database which was never in existence before, where all of that information comes together and is searchable by not only the clearinghouse, but the family members and law enforcement as well.
Victims or victim families, I think, are constantly searching for something else to do, the ability to feel that they're a part of the solution.
By myself doing some of the work, then I know, I feel like I'm involved and I'm helping.
The NamUs concept and all of the components that will be put into this process, or are in fact in the process, clearly gives those victims' families a place to deposit their information, search for information, and gives them an ownership, a personal ownership to the problem of searching for their loved ones.
It's just a perfect answer for my type of work to be able to enter cases into a system like the NamUs system.
This has been something that has been needed for a long time. This has given me the hope that I will eventually find my daughter's remains.
I think for me, it's the ability to reach out and touch those families in a positive way to help them, not with closure, but with resolution to this issue, so that they can begin now to move forward in their life and understand that there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay, so there were some families that were sharing, and one of the voices we heard was of one of the women that probably had a big influence on starting NamUs.
Yes, there are a number of family members out there that are very vocal about being able to find their loved ones, and it's understandably so. And they've gone to Congress, they've gone to their legislatures, state, local, and also federal, and they've been able to get some movement. And obviously, some of that result is what we see in the form of this grant that came out of the National Institute of Justice called NamUs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we'll get into it more. We need to take a break right now, but I know there's a lot more to NamUs, a lot of data, statistics, and so forth to really show us how big this problem is of identifying people.
Yes, and I brought some of that for Iowa since that's close to home for us. I wanted to show people what we had available in Iowa, missing persons-wise, unidentified, deceased, and some other information so they could feel comfortable with using NamUs, which is also open to the public.
All right, very good. So you've been watching CSI Iowa on webcast1live.com, and we'll be back after these messages.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
At the BrownellsPoliceStore.com, we specialize in a full line of duty gear for military, law enforcement, and security professionals. PoliceStore.com has a great selection of high-quality and dependable police supplies, all backed by Brownell's 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. The Brownells Training Group offers firearms training for military, police, professional security, and qualified citizens taught by professionals who are recognized for their knowledge and real experience. Check us out today at PoliceStore.com/CSI.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast 1 Live. Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders, building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
Welcome back to CSI Iowa. Tonight, my guest is Jerry Brown, who's the NamUs Regional System Administrator. And we've been talking about NamUs, what it is, National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. And see how good I am with that? I can read pretty well. And we have some, it's a national program, because that's what it says, but you're here in Iowa, but you work out of Texas. No, that doesn't quite, that's not quite right. But you're officially a Texan working in Iowa, but you were born in Iowa. How does that go?
I work out of my home in Iowa, which actually confuses a lot of people, because all of my contact information shows that I am at Camp Bowie Boulevard in Fort Worth, Texas. And my telephone number also has an 817 prefix, so everything points to me being a resident of Texas. So it usually helps when I tell them I'm actually in the Midwest, and for the most part, the states that I cover are fantastic, because they all are pretty much in the Midwest to the West. And once we establish that Midwest connection, I tell you, I have some fantastic people I work with.
Mm-hmm. Good, awesome. So tell us more about NamUs.
Well, NamUs, actually I have a slide program I'd like to go through, because I think that will help people really understand not only the program itself, how the public can actually register on the system. They can actually put missing persons into the system, as well as law enforcement. Now, when I say that, there are different levels of access. The public has a level of access that a little bit less than what law enforcement has. Law enforcement can see all the pictures that are in NamUs. They can see all of the case-sensitive information that might be in there. They can see some of the pictures that might be in there that wouldn't be available to the public. But the public can still go in and understand who the missing people are, and I'm going to show part of that as we go through this presentation that I have.
Okay, Mac, you want to put the first one up here?
So this is my contact information here. Basically, just as you have stated, a regional system administrator, going through the UNT, which is the University of North Texas Health Science Center, and it shows my office phone number of 817, and then my email address, jerry.brown@unthsc.edu. And anyone, if you have any questions as the show goes on, feel free to email me. And I just finally got my internet back up after being down a week, so I can start answering questions if you have any.
Okay, cool.
What my objective is here, and please you can interrupt at any time, is that to help people understand how NamUs got started and why, and part of that was answered in the introduction video. To understand the NamUs UP and MP databases, please understand when I say UP, that's the unidentified persons, and the MP is the missing persons. It's just short and easy to say it that way. And also learn what services that NamUs offers. And we do offer quite a number of free services to law enforcement in the form of forensic sciences so that we can help them do their job a little bit better. And when I say free services, obviously these are government-sponsored and grant services.
So we're all paying for it.
We're all paying for them, and that's what I tell the law enforcement. It's there, use it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Next. So we just have this database. It's on the web. Right now, if you want to look at all of the different databases that we have, you can go to www.namus.gov, and that'll show you the 3 different ones that are available. And the ones I haven't mentioned is that I mentioned the MP, I mentioned the UP, but there's also another one which we'll look at in just a second. Okay.
Okay, so MP and UP. And you understand that, those words, and that makes sense. Missing and unidentified. Okay.
So about 2003, this initiative was launched, and it was undertaken by the Office of Justice Programs, OJP, and there are a lot of acronyms out there that are thrown around, obviously, for the government. But the National Institute of Justice is the one that we really work under, NIJ. They have a great grant program manager who is in charge of this program and oversees it. And then they have awarded it to the University of North Texas Center for Human Identification. And that's basically who I work for.
Okay.
One of the things that they also do is they fund the DNA initiative, which is part of this because we work very closely with the UNT DNA lab. But the NIJ also has other grants that are out there, and I just wanted to mention a few of them. The Paul Coverdale Grant Forensic Science Improvement Grant Program, the DNA Backlog Reduction Program, Post-Conviction DNA, DNA technology to identify the missing. Then there are other ones out there like backlog reduction for police officers where they're working cold cases. Mm-hmm. So cold case reduction, block grants, a lot of other monies are available through grants to various local and state organizations to help with these efforts. As well as the state of Iowa and all the other states have a missing persons clearinghouse. So that's another place that people can go to. I would encourage them to look at the Iowa Missing Persons Clearinghouse website because it has all of the individuals that are reported missing and put into NCIC, which is the National Crime Information System, Center, I should say, National Crime Information Center, NCIC. So anybody that's put into NCIC is also listed on a state clearinghouse website with some other information. So that's where we're getting a lot of the information also put into NamUs is from these state clearinghouses.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So what we're looking at here is officials, public, medical examiners, coroners, law enforcement, all of these people got together and started talking about what they could do to help solve this problem of all of these missing folks, all of these unidentified bodies in the United States, and how can they put it into one central place. So as a result of that, all of these people getting together and having these discussions, the NamUs grant program was established, and that's why I'm here today.
So you get to talk to all these people. That's part of it.
Well, that's part of it, yes. I talk to the public, I talk to law enforcement, I talk to medical examiners and coroners every day, and I tell you, I have stories that they could put on the Lifetime channel. The movie channel there.
Because they like to talk to you about the things that are going on.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Now, this is an astounding number to me. If you look at this, it says on any given day in the United States there are between 80,000 and 90,000 active missing persons cases entered into NCIC. That's 80 to 90,000 a day. And I had to recheck this because I was astounded myself, and I'm thinking, okay, how does this happen? Well, you know, in some of the cities like Detroit, New York City, you have a tremendous number of people that are reported missing each and every day. Now, some of these are juveniles who run away and will return. So about half of these cases, as it indicates here, about half of these remain open over a year. And then even then, some of them tend to come back. But, you know, people go missing for a number of reasons. And one of the problems is as an adult, you have the right to go missing. And so it's really a situation where we have to figure out why is that person missing, because there are some people in abusive relationships that want to leave that relationship.
They want to be missing.
And they want to be missing, and they don't want to be found. And we have to be sensitive to that as we go through this process. And I do find that to be true in some of these cases, men and women who don't want to be in a relationship. Now, in other cases, men or women start owing a lot of money and don't want to be found. So, and then we also have the situations where, you know, Uncle Ted hasn't seen Uncle Tom in 17 years, and he wants us to go find him. And that's another thing. So we have to kind of filter through all of this stuff to determine what is really a missing persons case.
Okay, so you're not somebody that is going to help somebody look for a long-lost brother or sister. I mean, that's not. It's if there's foul play or anything like that, I'm assuming.
Well, we hope there isn't foul play, but at the same time, that's why we have both sides of the NamUs program, is so that if there is and these persons are not identified, we can be able to find them. Mm-hmm. So, and really there's really no way to figure out what the extent of this unidentified part of the equation is. But in 2007, they're reporting from some information they gathered in 2004. There were 13,486 people missing, unidentified in the United States. Now, if you go to the next slide, we see that
that's across the nation.
That's across the nation, 13,000 people. They only took into account of the remains stored at surveyed facilities and did not take into account the remains that had been buried or cremated. So that's just 13,000 we know that we can locate. That also doesn't include what we have found out as to be those skeletal remains that are stored at universities and colleges in anthropology departments, where they were sent to figure out whether it was a male, female, how old it was, or things like that, and were never returned to the medical examiner's offices. So there's a lot of those sitting in boxes around universities that will never be returned or identified, probably.
So are you one of the people that would go and try to find these remains?
Well, in that particular case, it's really it's kind of a dicey situation, because with the laws that we have nowadays, that's not supposed to happen. Okay, so there's a reluctance to come forward to let us know that those remains or those skeletal remains may be in those places.
Okay.
So what they're looking at is that the real problem that we have is those agencies that do have these remains in them, 13,000 or whatever you want a number you want to quote. Not all of them have a policy on the records they keep, how long they keep them, where they keep them, and what they do with the remains. So that side of the equation, the unidentified side, is real problematic in a lot of cases.
And so somebody has to be in the process of sorting out a lot of this stuff.
Yes, and that's what we're beginning. That's really the process that we're beginning. And also remember that it wasn't that long ago, there wasn't DNA, so nobody took DNA samples, and there might not have been a reason to do dental information, pictures, x-rays, and things like that. So once you cremate that individual, what way do you have to positively identify them?
Right. And I know that even in our lab, I think they brought in DNA in 1997. So that makes it relatively young.
Yes.
We're up against a break right now. We need to take a break, and we've been talking to Jerry Brown, the NamUs Regional System Administrator, and we've been talking about the missing and unidentified people and actually trying to find them. So we'll be back after these messages.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
At the BrownellsPoliceStore.com, we specialize in a full line of duty gear for military, law enforcement, and security professionals. PoliceStore.com has a great selection of high-quality and dependable police supplies, all backed by Brownell's 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. The Brownells Training Group offers firearms training for military, police, professional security, and qualified citizens taught by professionals who are recognized for their knowledge and real experience. Check us out today at PoliceStore.com/CSI.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast One Live. Programs on webcastonelive.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders, building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
Welcome back to CSI Iowa. My guest is Jerry Brown, NamUs Regional System Administrator, and we were talking about NamUs and going through some of the numbers that are kind of unbelievable. 80 to 90,000 a day people are either called in to be missing, or probably more missing than unidentified, I would think, on those numbers.
That's true. That 80 to 90,000 is the number missing per day.
And so, anyway, we have more information, and Matt, we can go back to that to the slide there. Go ahead, Jer. Take it from there.
Well, these are pretty much numbers that might be dated, but at the same time, they're just kind of a reminder that we have about 4,500 unidentified decedents discovered across the United States each year. 1,000 of those remain unidentified. 1,000 of them remain unidentified, and that's disconcerting to everyone, because everyone likes to have, as it was noted in the video, we'd like to have resolution, both the law enforcement and the families, and especially the families. And the only way we can do that is by doing the identification portion of it. And so we try to gather as much biometric information, and by that I mean DNA, tattoos, scars, marks, and whatever other identifying characteristics, medical assist devices. There are implants that might be in the individuals, fingerprints, and dental records. All of those are important.
So similar to like when you have a disaster morgue and you're getting the ante-mortem and post-mortem type information.
Exactly. That's we have. These are mini disasters. Mini, M-I-N, as opposed to many like in a national disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So of those, approximately 25% of the decedent cases are entered into NCIC. Now, that's one of the questions we're often asked is why are we duplicating NCIC? Because that's law enforcement puts them in there anyway. Well, we're talking apples and oranges because NCIC is an old software program, and it doesn't have the ability to take in pictures. It doesn't have the abilities to do some other things. And also, it's very limited access. You have to have a trained operator to enter information into an NCIC terminal. And so it's limited, and that means the information going into it may be limited by who has access and who actually provides information to that.
So it's kind of an antiquated system. Well, I should say that NamUs requires more.
That's why we have the NamUs system, is because it is a public system. It is usable on the internet by registering. Any law enforcement that has a computer connection can use it. Any medical examiner, any coroner can use it. Now, granted, there are still some that don't have those computer accesses, but
that's hard to believe, but I understand.
For the most part, most people do, and they can access and enter information. Photographs, dental records, tattoos, scars and marks, photographs of those. And so NamUs really has a power to it that NCIC doesn't because of its availability and because of what you can put into it and search in it. So in NCIC right now, there are 83,000 people that are actively missing persons. And the unidentified side is 7,000, a little over 7,000. Mm. And as I was just saying, most coroners and medical examiners don't have access to NCIC, so they aren't entering a lot of information. Only the larger departments that have a trained NCIC terminal operator can do that. So we just go through this problem of being able to get information into the system, and that's why NamUs was developed. Now, why don't we have missing persons entries in the NCIC? Because of the failure to report the information. Well, why don't families report it? That's always a question that comes to my mind. Yeah. I don't know why.
Probably good reasons, I suppose.
Yeah, you know, in some cases they are glad that they're missing, and in other cases they will turn over heaven and earth. I talked to an individual the other day that they had their daughter went missing a number of years ago. They have, since then, they have lost their home. They've lost everything that basically that they own because of trying to find their daughter. They've been personally paying for that investigator and other things to find their daughter. So this is a huge impact on people when they want to find a loved one.
Yeah, and it takes some of the burden off of them for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So there are a lot of reasons why information doesn't get into NCIC, and many of them are the same reasons that information doesn't get into NamUs. Because if you look at what's happening in departments across the United States, downsizing, prioritization, you have a job to do, and you only have so many people to do it and so many hours in a day. So that's why we try to offer these services. That's why I try to not add something to their lives that they have to do, but try to assist them to get the information into NamUs in the easiest way possible. And I work different ways with different departments, depending on what they want or do. And then some of the departments even have volunteers that come in and put this information in, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh, absolutely, for people that want to do that kind of work.
This is a database in many of the offices around the United States, both law enforcement and in the coroner and medical examiner world. Wow. And the problem is, how do you get that information into a computer?
Manpower.
You got to have the people to do
Yeah.
it, and they just don't have the time or the people. And you go down into the basements of some of these departments, whether it be a medical examiner, coroner, or law enforcement, and that's what you see down there. That's their file cases. And it's not even like the one you see on television with the cold cases, you know, where they have them all nice and neatly stacked
right.
in order, and probably in a computer it says it's A9, and you go to aisle A and look in 9 place, and you'll find that case. Well, that's not the case in those. So actually, people need an easier way to access the database, and that's why NamUs is out there for them.
Yeah, and so that this one here shows the database or the website.
Yeah, this shows the NamUs.gov website, and it gives you then, if you go to this website, you can click on each one of those little icons to the left side. The first one is the missing persons, the second one is the unidentified, and the third one is the unclaimed. And actually, you get, like in St. Louis, where I do some work with the MEs down there, they'll have somebody they know who it is because they had identifications or they found the fingerprints and then they were able to match that, or even the DNA. But they don't know who the relatives are. They have no clue as to who this person is related to. So they put them in the unclaimed area, and hopefully then people will search through there for maybe one of their loved ones and find them. And even at that, they will find a relative, but the relative doesn't want to claim them because the relative would have to then pay for
funeral or whatever expenses.
All of those expenses for transportation and everything else, and they don't have a desire to do that, so they just tell the city or state to do what they want to.
Okay, now if I were to get in here and I'm just an ordinary citizen, I can go here and I can click on, let's say, missing persons, and then I can actually look for any. Do I look for a name or do I look for?
It's a good question. And if we go a little further down the line here, we'll see what a individual public citizen can do. See, brings
there you
right
go.
in. That's a good lead-in, Bob. I'm thank you very much. So you see, registering on the MP database. Now, a lot of people get confused because these databases look the same. So you have to register in each one of them, and you have to log into them as a citizen.
So you have to log into the missing persons or the unidentified or the unclaimed. Yeah. Each one has it.
Now, you don't have to, but you're going to see even less information if you don't register, and if you don't register, you won't see as much information.
Why would people be afraid to register?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I can see their registration. I don't okay their registration. Every time a law enforcement agent or a medical examiner or somebody like that registers, I have to verify their employment with their department. And because like I said, they have a different level of access. And so they can see everything in that case. I have to know that they have legitimate rights to see that, because in there are things like the NCIC numbers. That's not a publicly viewable number. It's not supposed to be, but you'll find it in some places, but you won't find it on ours. Dental records. Dental records might contain some personally identifying information as far as where the individual lived or something like that. So we probably won't show those. We have we have to weigh what is legally available to the public against what is not. And some of that's handled by HIPAA laws. I mean, some of it's handled through other laws throughout, and then different places have different requirements from state to state on what information the police is able to release. So it's really what a person is going to be able to see on here will vary from case to case. But anyway, you go to the MP. Now this missing persons database is actually on a page called www.findthemissing, all one word, findthemissing.org. And so you go there and you see where that red arrow is pointing, and there on the left side it says register, and then that'll go through disclaimer page, and it'll go through some other pages, and then you enter your information, and then you're basically registered automatically. Okay.
Okay.
This, I think the next slide shows the registration information that's asked for. The name, it's just the typical stuff, name, address, locations, those types of things.
And there's the website.
There's the website right there. And so once you get registered, it'll give you a little information like this. And right on the first page, you can do some searching if you want to. Down there towards the bottom is a quick search.
Quick search.
Yeah.
First name, last name, sex, date.
Right. And over on the right-hand side, there's some pictures that'll flip up, and those are random, just showing different missing persons around the United States. And then down below that gives you some statistical information, which we'll look at for Iowa here in just a minute.
Okay. Let's see, is this a new page here? There's another quick search.
This one, yeah, it shows the quick search for
unidentified.
The unidentified side. So when I said they look similar,
yeah, we had to look at it to see what it was.
They definitely look similar. So you need to know where you're at, what you're searching for. Yeah. And even I get confused on this sometimes because I'll try to search for something and all of a sudden I know it's there, but it's not.
All right, and let's go to the unclaimed next here to see how that looks.
And I might just add that all of this is migrating over to the FBI in about 2 or 3 months. So this is going to be over on a very secure database, which law enforcement really desires. So this is the claimants one, and again there you can search for the unclaimed decedents, and they might have pictures and other information there that you can actually look for. I am one of the regional system administrators. There are 8 of us, I believe, across the United States. I am Region 3, which is the green region. I handle Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska, Kansas, Utah, Colorado, and tomorrow I start with Nevada. And then there are other ones that handle the other states. And these range from individuals with backgrounds from, we have one person who's a forensic anthropologist over in the Brown area. We have several ex-police officers that are doing this. We have 2 ex-DNA specialists that are out there working. And so there's a variety of people out doing this job.
Okay, and I think that's what we're seeing here, that variety.
Yeah. And then our forensic services, we have 2 forensic odontologists that I work with that help me gather dental records and dental information. We have a fingerprint expert who's down in Texas, that offices down in the headquarters down there. And we do work very closely with the UNT DNA section. They do all of our work for us. We provide free family sample kits to law enforcement. All of our DNA samples have to be taken by a law enforcement officer. So we supply them with DNA kits, family sample kits, or the direct DNA from the missing person somehow, like a comb or a toothbrush or something along those lines. And we have a forensic anthropology at UNT also that we work with there. This, very quickly, the forensic odontology, this is some of the stuff that they do. They do the coding for NCIC records, which they provide to the law enforcement, because whenever they do that, we have 2 of them, as I said. One of them covers the Midwest, and the other one covers the East and West Coast.
Probably similar populations when you take it, even though it looks like there's more in the green.
Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah. Smarter people than me put together the who handled what there. And the fingerprint guy, that's what he deals with, the coding, doing searches in different fingerprint databases and helping us reach out to even, in a lot of cases, like down in Arizona and New Mexico, we have a lot of undocumented folks that happen to expire in the desert. And so that creates a real issue for them trying to identify them down there. And the forensic anthropology department at UNT. And I forgot to mention, we also have some forensic artists and also reconstruction. So we can submit some pictures that may not be tasteful for public viewing, and they can take those and help us out so that we have something that can be presented to the public. And that's called our Project EDAN. We're our forensic artists.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool.
And you can go, actually, that's another website that people can go to and look at if they want to.
Well, we're just about out of time.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, I know there's more to go, but I think we have a pretty good idea of what NamUs is about. And is there anything else that you might want to mention that maybe we passed over or didn't get to?
If you could maybe just go to, I think it's the second to the last slide, very quickly if you can, because it really says a lot about what this whole thing is about. And I would like for the people just to view that if they can. It's the one that has a bunch of pictures on it. There's a number of photographs and then some text on there.
Next to the last one?
I think it is. It's the third or one of the ones towards the end.
And what are we looking for? Oh, with all the pictures?
All the pictures on
it. It's here. Okay, Matt, switch to that. Well, it looks like it's, there we go.
There it is. So basically, this really says a lot to me. Every unidentified person is a missing person. And what we are trying to do is make it so in the end, I work myself out of a job and there are no more unidentified individuals or deceased out there. And that would be great if we could do that. And the things that I didn't get to show are some of the Iowa cases that are
like Jody Husenrud I saw going through that's been missing for quite a long time.
And Eugene Martin and
Eugene and Johnny Gosh.
All of those folks, yes. And then the most two recent young girls that are in the database also.
Wow. Okay. So you keep right on top of that. Okay. This is cool. And I think we have the web addresses that you had given for that. And if you don't know, you could probably Google NamUs, right?
Just put in NamUs and you can find the resources page and you'll find my contact information right there.
Okay, so the public can call you also, correct?
Yes, they can. They have that 817 number down in Texas.
All right, and they'll just redirect it over here. Okay, well, thanks again, Jerry, for coming, and we'll see if there any updates or anything new. We may just have to bring you back to update us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
You've been watching CSI Iowa, and remember, all of these shows are archived on my CSI Iowa Facebook page. So in the search bar, just type in CSI Iowa, and you get to see all the archive shows. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
At the BrownellsPoliceStore.com, we specialize in a full line of duty gear for military, law enforcement, and security professionals. PoliceStore.com has a great selection of high-quality and dependable police supplies, all backed by Brownell's 100% unconditional lifetime guarantee. The Brownells Training Group offers firearms training for military, police, professional security, and qualified citizens taught by professionals who are recognized for their knowledge and real experience. Check us out today at PoliceStore.com/CSI.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to